judge had refused. As the dealer shuffled the cards in preparation for the next hand, Luke glanced toward the group of onlookers who supported him, which represented about half the crowd. His little sister Cynthia had shown up. Although he appreciated the support, he couldn't look at his brilliant, beautiful sister without gnashing his teeth. She should be finishing her final semester at Yale right now. He understood that grief over their dad's death had sidelined her, but he couldn't even get her to promise she'd go back in the fall. She was on track to graduate magna cum laude, for crying out loud. Yet she was determined to abandon her studies and become a showgirl. On top of that, for the past month, she'd been hanging out with Bryce Landry, a high-stakes gambler from Frisco. Landry was with her now, in fact. Whenever Luke thought about his little sister throwing away a promising future, he felt sick to his stomach. He had no clue how to convince her to finish school either. His mother was no help. Her grief had been so profound she couldn't bear to stay in Vegas, or even in the States, so she was currently living in Provence. The only good news was that Cynthia had set her heart on being a showgirl at the Silver Crescent. Specifically, she wanted to dance with the Moonbeams, an ensemble created by Luke and Cynthia's mother years ago. Cynthia's sentimental streak was a mile wide, apparently. In any case, he'd be the one to hire her. She wasn't happy that he'd refused, but at this point, it was his only line of defense. If he lost the Crescent tonight, the Cartwrights might discontinue the Moonbeams show, but even if they kept it, chances were slim they'd hire a Dalton. Taking a slow, even breath, he scooped up his hand and glanced at it. He kept his expression blank as the betting began. Nothing in his behavior indicated that the hand he had been waiting for had finally arrived. He had aces over kings. Even better, the cards in his hand denied Cartwright the possibility of a royal flush. He reeled his line out slowly, raising the bets at a steady pace. Finally, Luke shoved all his chips to the center of the table. All in. Benedict Cartwright was going down. The sharp pang of empathy struck again. He forced himself to ignore it. Only a slight twitch in Benedict's right eyelid betrayed his nervousness as he pushed his chips forward. Call. He laid out 3 queens and 2 kings. Not bad, but not enough. Luke laid his cards on the table. Howlin' at the Moon now belonged to the Dalton family. For one long, agonizing moment, his gaze collided with Benedict's. The shock and pain in his adversary's eyes was tough to see, and Luke looked away again. He didn't want to know how bad this was for the guy, but he was afraid that look of devastation would haunt him, at least for a while. After a collective gasp from the crowd, the mood shifted. Some cheered, and others cursed and called for a rematch. Luke shook his head. He had what he wanted, a change in the status quo. In the midst of the chaotic scene, he heard something odd, a distinct and very canine snarl. Maybe someone had brought a service dog into the room, but he couldn't see an animal anywhere. Yeah, maybe he was going crazy after all. After her flight from San Francisco landed at McCarran, Giselle Landry hopped the trolley for an open-air ride to the Illusions Hotel and Casino at the far end of the Strip. The Werewolf exclusive establishment had been the Cartwright Pack's flagship property ever since Harrison Cartwright had lost the Silver Crescent to a human named Angus Dalton in a poker game. A hotel for werewolves in the heart of Vegas had been a daring idea when Harrison had built the Silver Crescent years ago. The other 2 establishments in the country that catered exclusively to wares were in more remote areas. One was a resort on an island in Puget Sound, and the other was outside of Denver, a sprawling lodge where Giselle had attended WereCon 2012. Everyone in the werewolf world had understood the significance of losing this urban hotel, but the humans hadn't realized that major panic had ensued. The hotel had been designed for wares, complete with werewolf-friendly entrances and exits that would make no sense to a human guest. When Harrison Cartwright had owned the Silver Crescent, humans who tried to book a room had been told the hotel was full. Humans could gamble in the casino, but only registered guests could enter the hotel lobby.